Lost media is probably one of my favorite internet trends over the past couple of years. Something about media that only exists through screenshots, short, low-resolution videos, and sometimes even word of mouth or just people's memories have always fascinated me. And this isn't any different when it comes to video games, as there is a shit ton of video game lost media out there. So I kind of just wanted to talk about some that I personally found interesting. Okay, cool. Enjoy. Disney Channel Interactive was a minigame service offered through Dish Network starting in 2007, accessible via Channel 100 on Dish Home, where users with the compatible cable boxes and plans could play exclusive games based on Disney Channel shows such as Hannah Montana, Kim Possible, That's So Raven, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, etc., which was also developed by the company VisaWare. Users would have to pay the $5 subscription fee for full access, with the occasional free weekends. In addition to games, the channel also provided episode descriptions and air dates for upcoming Disney Channel programming. The service did have its good couple of years, and a lot of people online remember playing these games as a kid and having great memories with it. However, with a lot of these shows either being cancelled or finishing, the service very quietly shut down in the early 2010s, and with no official backup to the games, it left all these service games completely lost, with nearly every game on the service being basically inaccessible, with only a few recordings of the games being online, such as the Zack and Cody game. According to the LostMediaWiki, it is unknown the exact date in which the service was discontinued. Press releases as late as 2010 mentioned the service. It was likely discontinued due to the shows featured on the service having been cancelled. And when using the Wayback Machine, we can see it under the Dish TV Games section, with this being the official main menu of Disney Channel Interactive. At this time, interactive TV games were starting to catch on with TV providers, as DirecTV also has something similar called the Game Lounge during the late 2000s, but this was also eventually cancelled in 2013, with almost every single game on this service as well becoming lost media. It wasn't until 2022 a member of the LostMediaWiki named Just Me LOL contacted Dish Network to ask if any data or game files, or if just anything still existed from Disney Channel Interactive. The Dish employee would respond by confirming that all related files were permanently wiped from their archives when they had transitioned to the new Hopper DVR system in 2012, with also a former VisaWare employee confirming a full list of games that existed and were able to play on the service, though most, if not almost every single one of them, are still uncoverable today, pretty much slightly killing off any hope of one day these games resurfacing and being playable again. With the decline of TV over the years, these sort of subscription-based games from the 2000s are only going to become more obscure. Like most games that have existed for a while and been developed over the years, it's pretty crazy to see the progress that games have gone through when looking at past gameplay from now, which is the case for the oldest available version of Minecraft available to the public, which was released on May 13th of 2009. It's a pretty bare bones version of the game, as Notch, the creator, used it to solely test mobs and experiment. Around this time, Minecraft was known as Cave Game, as Notch was inspired by games like Infinite Miner and Dwarf Fortress. The first version of the game was released by Notch on a forum page on May 19th, 2009. But unfortunately, with many large video game franchises, there are different early builds from early development cycles that are now missing entirely, as Minecraft, when first released, was only playable through a web browser. So every time the game was updated, which Notch would do a lot, even sometimes several times a day, the old version would immediately get replaced. And unless someone manually saved a copy of that version, it would be lost forever. With these versions being called the pre-classic versions, which were made between May 10th to May 16th of 2009, the classic versions, which were made between May 17th to November 10th of 2009, as Notch had confirmed these versions from game logs, Mojang's old development blogs, and his own blog/Tumblr. Several builds from both versions from this time are completely lost. The list of how many versions is pretty long, with some versions being found through old YouTube videos and screenshots. But because of how the game was handled and distributed back then, finding these versions is pretty much impossible, with also Minecraft multiplayer not officially releasing until May 31st, 2009, during the classic versions era, with also some of the earliest servers and communities also being completely lost. Since they were not hosted on Mojang servers, these servers were local player hosted, usually run from their home computers. If the player didn't back up the files or moved on to a newer version, that world would be completely lost. One of which was for the server Fcraft, which is one of the earliest known communities to host Minecraft servers. They hosted countless classic multiplayer worlds, as some of the first buildings, castles, pixel arts, and creations by some of the oldest and first Minecraft players and communities from some of the oldest servers are probably gone forever. But at least there's still communities like Omni Archive who are working to find these old versions and release them to the public. The Hatsune Miku Project Diva is a series of rhythm games created by Sega and Krypton Future Media. Releasing on July 2nd of 2009, the series currently consists of 6 main titles. At the time before release, Hatsune Miku was just a popular voice bank and digital character used in fan-made songs. Sega eventually took the risk of making it into its own game, and it pretty much exploded in popularity almost instantly, as this was also the first Vocaloid rhythm game. Vocaloid went from a niche internet interest with a small fan base to being known worldwide, with Miku pretty much bridging the gap of online media and pop culture. Sega created a website for the game in 2008, along with all the new content that was going to be featured in the game, with the game also being previewed at the Tokyo Game Show that same year. However, before the actual game officially released, there was the Hatsune Miku Project Diva demo, as the demo is what was being played at these events when showcased, with the game supposedly only being 39% done when announced. The demo supposedly contained 5 songs, but when the actual game was released, the demo pretty much just vanished. The early demo of the game showed the foundational gameplay systems, along with the timing-based button presses, Miku's early 3D model, a basic UI, and the demo songs with the animations being much choppier than in the final version. But once released, the demo was completely non-existent. No digital dump has ever surfaced. In September of 2008, the demo of the game was apparently leaked, but then was quickly taken down by Sega. But this is just a rumor, it's not confirmed if this actually happened. With only pictures from event booths, descriptions from people who played it, and speculations and rumors from the online communities are what still exist of the demo. No direct gameplay or screenshots of the UI are publicly available, with it only being playable from booths at the events that it was previewed at. No ROM or ISO of the demo has ever been leaked online, but there are active communities on the hunt for the demo, with even an official Discord of trying to find the lost demo, discovering magazines and flyers containing early information and designs of the game, early builds of songs on the demo and concept art. There has also been a few quote-unquote leaks of the project over the years, but they were all fake and almost instantly debunked, with one of them even being a modded version of GTA Liberty City, which has embedded Vocaloid videos in it. Yeah, you really can't make this up. Some fans have even tried contacting former Sega developers and event staff who might have had access to early builds of the game, but for the most part, has gone nowhere. But as for the demo itself, this will probably serve as the most important piece of lost media in Vocaloid history. The Little Big Arcade was a Facebook promotional flash game for Little Big Planet 2 made in 2010. The game enabled users to craft and share mini levels using their Facebook friends' profiles. The game was accessible via Facebook's App Center, allowing users to engage with Little Big Planet outside of PlayStation. But after Little Big Planet 2 was released, the game was closed from Facebook, as the game was built solely to promote the new game coming out. Around the early 2010s, Facebook Flash games started to decline, and with Little Big Planet Arcade having such a small and obscure fan base, they decided to quietly pull the game. But since it was built using Facebook's backend and outdated Flash technology, the game is likely to be completely lost unless someone managed to preserve the original files before it was taken down, which we have no idea if anyone actually did that. And for years, there was no actual screenshots or footage of the game, as this game wasn't even made by the actual Little Big Planet team. but by Sony and a company named Curb. It wasn't until December 31st of 2024, the popular Little Big Planet YouTuber A made a short about the game, bringing it much needed attention. And surprisingly, the original developer Jim Harris commented on the short. I was the original developer that worked on this project back in 2011. Curb were a multi-award-winning online entertainment and digital game studio, specializing in designing and developing social monetized games and toys for mobile and the web. I was one of the founding employees. We pioneered viral marketing before social media was even a thing, and we were the early adopters of Adobe Flash. Most of us are still working in web and digital. Crazy days. With him even saying that he would release the game or some sort of information about the game. With another commenter on the short replying to Jim's message about a month later. Hi Jim, I'm a lost media hunter who is trying to find a playable build of Little Big Arcade. Me and another user created a page on the LostMediaWiki, trying to bring awareness to this obscure Little Big Planet game, and we were wondering when you will be able to release the game soon, and if you have any footage or screenshots. But it's been about 3 months and we haven't gotten any new information about the game. I think there's a small chance that we will get something soon, but as of now, the game is still completely lost. PokéMate was a mobile phone game developed by Square Enix, which was released in Japan in 2006, which is technically the very first Pokemon mobile game to ever release. The game allowed players to capture Pokemon, chat with other players, and take care of their Pokemon. It was kind of like a virtual pet simulator. New players only received 10 Pokeballs and a random Pokemon to start. However, a formal service edition was released for a monthly fee of 210 yen to get more Pokeballs and Pokémates, and just overall media within the app. The app was region locked as it was only used for the phone series, the NTT Docomo Foma 900i. It was kinda just more of a messaging pet game as you could chat with up to 16 friends simultaneously. Features included text messaging, voicemail system, and email-like communication through the Hiroba mail system. There wasn't any battling or leveling, and it wasn't tied to any mainline games. You just took care of your mons and put them into the PC and chat with your friends. Square Enix showed it privately to journalists at E3 2006, and no public announcement for a US release ever happened, but the game was rumored to be coming over to the US. However, the game got very low interaction in Japan and never really took off. Eventually, the game was shut down in January of 2008. And since the app was only available on this specific line of Japanese smartphones, trying to find data and assets of the game was extremely hard. The user Luckless Heaven uploaded a video of the title screen in 2019, which is the only recording of the app we still have available. He said in the description that he was going to try to dump the game, which basically means he was going to try to extract data from it. But he gave a small update 3 years later, basically saying it was going to be hard to dump. And since then, there's been 0 updates since. There was also an old blog post of a player basically just documenting all of his progress on the game. But even the person who wrote this blog basically just said that the app was trash. Nonetheless, it still left a lot of people very curious on how the app plays. And I find it very unlikely that there's ever going to be a playable version of the game. I think it's safe to say that the first Pokemon mobile game will probably forever be lost.